Hey everybody! Currently, I am working on a project for my wife that involves cutting circles. In order to cut the perfect circles, I need a circle cutting jig. And if you're watching this video, you might need one too. I have narrowed down the building process down to 5 simple steps. And if you follow along with me, I'll show you exactly how I do it, how I break it down and keep it nice and simple. And we're gonna do it right now. The first step is cutting your plywood to the right size. Now you can do this with a 1/4, 1/2, or 3/4 inch ply. The width of your plywood should be cut to the width of your router base. You can go more, but don't go less than the width of your base. Just know that the thicker your plywood is, then the less depth cutting you're going to have with your router. I had plenty of 1/4 inch ply on hand, so for me it was a no-brainer, 1/4 inch all the way. And that brings us to step 2, tracing the outline and cutting the shape of the jig. Go ahead and remove the base of your router so that you can place it on the plywood and trace the outline on one end of the piece. And while you're at it, trace the screw holes as well. Once you get your router base traced, you can make the style and shape of the jig pretty much any way you want. It doesn't really matter. You could have waves and curves or straight lines, or just keep it as a square board. The most important part is making sure the length of the jig is long enough for you to accomplish whatever project you're working on. And that length is determined by the radius of the circle you're going to cut. And if you don't know what a radius is, it's basically the center of a circle measured to the edge of the circle, so half the width. For this jig, I'm going with a very traditional style, wide on one end and narrow on the other. Once the outline is traced, you can go ahead and cut out your piece. There are multiple different saws that you can use for this application. I went ahead with the bandsaw just because I got it recently and I was pretty excited to use it. This is my Grizzly 17-inch bandsaw. Otherwise, if you have 1/4 inch, you can use a scroll saw. That's a really good application. It's kind of like a mini bandsaw in a way. You could also use a jigsaw. If you're using thicker wood, I wouldn't use a scroll saw. I would go with the jigsaw or the bandsaw. And if you want to reduce the risk of cuts or scrapes or splinters, go ahead and sand off those edges. Attaching the router base to the plywood couldn't be simpler. Securing the plywood to your workbench with a clamp makes countersinking hassle-free. I used my Ryobi countersink drill bit set in order to countersink holes for the screws that already came with the router that I had. I'll leave an affiliate link in the video description for the countersink bits by Ryobi. If you're interested, check those out and click on the link. Also, I'll have links to all the tools that I used in this video. Once the holes are drilled and countersunk, attach the plywood jig to the base of your router, as opposed to using your power drill. These screws can easily be stripped, don't ask me how I know that. Then take your router and attach a straight cutting 1/4 inch bit. Make sure it's snug, and then put your router inside the router base. Lock it down and you're ready for step 4. At this point, if you've done everything correctly, all you gotta do is plunge it right in. Now that you've gotten this far, go ahead and remove all your hard work from the router base. Now I know what you're thinking here. Why? Well, just go with me on this one. Attach a scrap piece to one side of your jig underneath the hole that you had already plunged. Then attach a 1-inch bit to drill directly into the center of that hole you already created. The scrap piece is there to prevent any tear out. And there you have it. That's step 4. We're almost done. For step 5, I want you to grab a ruler and find the center on the far end of the jig. Then find a long straight edge and draw a line from the hole you plunged all the way down to the other end at the center point. Now's a good time to grab that jig and reattach it to the router base. Hand crank that in. Once you place your router and jig on your workpiece with your straight cutting bit size of choice, turn the bit so the blade is lined up with the line you drew. Then place a straight edge ruler up against that edge blade along the line and mark whatever measurement size of circle you want to cut based on the radius. So if it's a 12-inch circle, you're going to mark a 6-inch marking along that line. Then take a nail of choice, I chose a picture hanging nail, and hammer that right into your workpiece. And make sure it's the bottom of your workpiece, not the top, because you want to be able to conceal this. And there you have it. Now you can go ahead and turn it on and crank it around 1, 2, or even 3 passes to cut your piece. Now make sure you put something underneath that workpiece so you don't cut into the table that you're working on. If you got a nice router bit and a decent router, you'll be quite impressed with how smooth and perfect the circle is that you're going to cut out. And that right there is a perfect 12-inch circle. And if you want to forever remember that pivot point, go ahead and mark the diameter or even the radius depending on what you prefer to read and remember it by. Every single hole that you drill, you can always just write on the face of that jig so you never forget. I hope you found this circle cutting jig tutorial helpful and entertaining at the same time. I had a great time doing it. This is the easiest way to make a circle cutting jig. It may not be the prettiest, but it's going to get the job done just as good as all the others. Also, I love this router. This Bosch router comes with a plunge base and also a fixed base and a great carrying case. I'll leave a link in the description so you can purchase one yourself through Amazon as an affiliate link. Also, any other tool used in this video, there'll be a link in the description below. I use this circle cutting jig to make the bottom part of my wife's desk that I'm building right now. There is a video right here that I'm going to leave, if it's not there already, about that build. So watch that and see how I put it to use. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next video.